Hello, welcome
Here we
to
go.
HorrorFest 2, episode 2. Ooh, this is the show where we do 31 horror films for 31 days of October, and then we question why we've done it after it, because it's absolute hell. Right, I'm done with this bit now.
Okay.
How are we all doing, gents?
I'm not bad, pal. How are you?
I'm good.
That is a fucking big difference.
Yeah,
it is.
Candlelight to clean lighting.
I feel like I should acknowledge I've changed locations for the first time in 2 years.
I know, mate.
Teleported. Look at this.
Like,
it's a nice setup as well.
Little Freddy Krueger on top of your amp there.
yeah, nice spin bike in the back.
Right. It's right next to the fire.
Straight away.
That's
apt.
I'm waiting for someone to like point it out. For like, am I throwing a bike in the background? So I was like, right.
Should have left the immersion there. No one knew.
There's a Reddit thread just about it going, what's that thing in the background?
Forget the light. What's that handlebar? Right. As you can tell, this one is just us three. We do have Ryan's reviews of each film over the next 7. As usual, I'm about to list off the next 7 films we're going to talk about. I did on the previous episode, so it might sound a bit boring if you've listened to them back to back, but they are The Collector, The Ritual, Prom Night, the one that came out in 1980, Wes Cravens New Nightmare, Prince of Darkness, Halloween H2O 20 years later, and Fright Night. Ooh. Lun, you need to come clean, don't you? Let's do that first. Get it out of the way.
Okay.
It.
So I'm gonna put my hands up on this one, and then because I'm not gonna give it. Well, I am gonna give it excuses. I've had a ridiculously busy week. So
here we go. He's watched no movies. He's watched none of them.
None of it. No, I'm joking. So I've not seen The Ritual, and I've not seen Prince of Darkness. And the reason I'm not would be like I'm going to look it up before we do this recording is because I actually really want to watch Prince of Darkness and enjoy it without actually knowing anything about it.
Oh, okay. So you're going to take your headphones off while me and Matty talk about Prince of Darkness. Okay. Probably smart.
Yeah, I was gonna start talking about it then, but I'll save myself. I was trying to sell you it then.
I mean, like you can do like a non-spoiler thing, but I've just previously referenced like we're not that great at non-spoiler reviews.
No.
Yeah, there's no such thing as no non-spoilers for us, is there?
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah.
Nah.
Right. The way this is going to work, we're all going to give ours, and then later on, thanks to editing, we'll add Ryan's review.
It's like he was always here.
Yeah, he never left us. We'll add a 4th screen of nothingness.
We should do it like we have like a framed picture of Ryan and we just move like the bottom jaw. I rate this a 5.
Like the Canadians out of South Park.
Yeah.
Good luck, Matty. I'm so happy I just edit the audio.
Nice.
Should we jump straight into
more
it?
lights on?
Yeah.
There we go.
Are you okay, Matty? Do you need
no, it's fine. Let's go, mate.
All right.
He's
Right.
buzzing. He's on it. He's just gonna go.
Film 1, The Collector. Really, I sound like a chapter 1 introduction. Stephen walks down a long and windy road. There is a fog at the end of the... Anyway, The Collector, released in 2009. This was chosen by Matthew Ashton.
What a fucking smashing film this is. Like,
Smashing.
Being biased. Oh my God.
Oh, hang on. You can tell I've had a drink. Here's the synopsis.
Yeah.
Fucked it, boys. Desperate to repay his debt to his ex-wife, an ex-con plots a heist at his new employer's country home, unaware that there is a second criminal who has also targeted the property and rigged it with a series of deadly traps.
Yeah, that's pretty much explains it all.
That's the end of HorrorFest Part 2. Thank you very much.
So the Deadly Traps bit, you can kind of guess who was the sort of director and producer. So it's from the makers of Saw. So you can imagine what the
right.
I think
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is. Like, I'm 90% sure it is. You're better off Googling that while I'm
So
speaking
I'll
about
give
it.
you my fun fact now before I know I usually do it at the end, but originally intended to be a Saw film from the writers, but it got declined. So I don't know if the
Oh.
studio declined that. And
Right, so it could
Lee
be from the
Winnell
writers of Saw.
jumped on top and was like, let's turn this into a series itself, or a franchise, should I say, not a series.
But yet they
Right.
said, yeah, sure, let's do Spiral.
Oh, the long lost episode of Spiral.
Anyway, that's Spiral. That's
Yeah,
just, that's
forget
a different
Spiral.
sort of
Forget
thing.
Spiral.
Right. So yeah, so like we said, it's got a relation to the Saw, so you can imagine how fucking brutal these traps are. The concept of the film for me is pretty fucking cool. So you've got this one guy who's like in this rich family's home, and he's clearly planning to fucking go in there and steal some money, but he's not one of those criminals that you sort of hate. Like you sort of see the reason why he's doing it, because his family is struggling.
He's
and
a
all
nice
that
criminal.
sort of stuff. Yeah, he's a nice criminal. So obviously they give that perspective on it, and then they also give hints at the beginning of the film to like someone who could possibly be the other intruder, which you'll sort of like realize towards the end of the film. But yeah, when you get into it, it's sort of like, so it's basically like a Don't Breathe sort of vibe. Like I feel like that's what Don't Breathe got the inspiration from. So they get in the house, everyone's trapped in there, and he finds out like the family are also not on vacation, they're still in the
Like
house.
they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they're being tortured. And the suspense of that film, mate. So I love the angles where you see like the main guy going
overhead.
into so you see the overhead shots of the main guy going into one room, and then the collector, he comes into the other room. And then, do you know what I mean? It's like, do you know when you watch Takeshi's Castle? Have you ever seen that one where they're chasing it through the doors?
Yeah, like the maze where they're trying to get out. It's got that style. For anyone who's just listening, it's like you're looking down on the floor plan of the house.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, it's fucking scary,
angle.
man. Yeah, that's what makes it more suspenseful, though. So you see him coming through, and this guy's trying to hide from him. And yeah, dude, it's fucking brilliant. Go on, I'll pass it on.
Go on, Pearson.
So I don't know if anyone else got this, but did the title card not remind you of the film Seven?
Yes.
It's all fucked up, and even the audio is like, yeah, it was really cool. That was one of my favorite. The title card was my favorite bit of the film. No, like
the music is sort of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well. Do you know, with the little flickers and little bits like that, and like the dead stuff and dead insects and things like that.
Yeah, originally when I was watching it, I was just questioning the setup because I didn't read anything about it. I know you might have recommended it loads to me, and I was just watching it like, okay, so is he just like suspense trying to rob the house? So he's trying to get this gem or stone out of the safe that he's cracking, and you hear like someone enter the house, and you're like, shit, two robbers at the same time. This is kind of weird, but it might not get that violent. But then you hear the screams echo through the vents of the house, and you're just like, oh, fuck. Where the fuck is this going? Because the opening kind of leaves you questioning the whole setup of the film.
Yeah.
Because the opening is just this guy sees a red box in his house.
Yeah. Yeah, you know it is. Yeah, because that turns up during the day, doesn't it?
You don't get context until like the climax of the film when you see it again.
Mm.
So he soon finds out that that guy's not there for the gem and the money. That guy's there for a different fucking reason. He's coming to collect you.
What does he collect? He collects people, which is the most fucked up thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's like a really graphic version of the collector guy from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, he does capture Howard the Duck and like human beings as well. So,
I mean,
it counts, you know. But
connected, I think so.
Like, there's traps in almost every room. How lucky is our main protagonist that he's just like those fucking fish wires that slightly scratch his face?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's getting away by the skin of his teeth, like not fucking up. Yeah.
See, this is another thing. So the sound on this film as well is very important.
Yeah.
So you've got the creaking of the stairs, like the floorboards as he's going along, and like I said, even the little bits like where the wire's going on his face, like all these little bits that just add and build that tension. Because because especially when they're chasing each other around the house and you can hear stuff going on. But yeah, the mask as well in this film. Holy shit!
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's why you first recommended it to me, because you were like,
Yeah.
"Have you ever seen The Collector's Mask?" As one of our many discussions on masks.
Yeah.
Go on, Matty. Go in depth.
No,
In
it's just
depth
it's
on
just it's
masks.
just
Take it
it's
away.
just
Here we go.
the mask itself, and he's got like these weird. I don't know if he's got contacts in on purpose, or if they obviously did that for
Like
the
his
film.
eyes glow, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
because when you this is spoiler, when you do see the guy at the beginning of the film, has he got the eyes like that? Are his eyes like
I don't think so.
no.
No, I think it's contacts.
Yeah. Yeah, and this dude carries around a lot of keys as well. He's like a little janitor.
Fucking
Isn't he?
hell, yeah. Like, how do you set something like this up? Like, I brought 17 bear traps with me, a tub
Yeah.
of sulfuric acid,
Right.
all this fish wire. Oh,
And he set all this up within like probably it would have had to been.
it'd be an
So
afternoon,
they all left
right?
like like a couple or a few
An
hours.
evening, yeah. Yeah, so when you see him listening and cracking into this safe, you hear the door open and you're like, oh shit, second robber, because there's that creaky step.
Mm.
And he just running around not falling into these traps until that fish wire, and then you hear the fucking guttural screams of people in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Bro. I want to also say, so this is a spoiler, but the scene where he goes in to a bedroom and the sulfuric acid all over the floor, the cat is stuck in the acid.
Fuck, yeah. Oh my
Right.
god. That's an extreme version of the floor is lava.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But do you remember how he hides? He hides at like the pillow end of a bed.
Behind the pillars.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like a perfectly
Yeah.
made bed. How do you hide in a bed and get it perfectly made still?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Especially when you're in a rush like that.
Yeah. That was the one bit where I was like, oh, fuck, you caught, because the suspense was going and going.
Yeah,
His
dude.
shoes
Oh
are
my
stuck to
god.
the floor, burning off. The cat made it to the window and then got cut in half. And some books hit the floor, right? And he covered his shoes. So I'm like, oh, you're so fucked. And the guy just walks up, looks around, assumes it's the cat,
Yeah.
and then turns back around.
Yeah.
Fuck.
This film did not like that cat.
Yeah.
No.
It's ruthless though, this film, and
It is
that
ruthless.
guy is on a mission. But like you said, that when he's hiding behind that pillars in that scene, oh my god, that is twitchy bum time.
Yeah, the
Wow.
twitchy bum time. The
Wow.
suspense is horrible.
Yeah.
Even like, so the windows are boarded from the inside in this film, and he sticks his hand through to try and pull them off.
Oh, it's got
But there's
the
fucking razor blades. So if he
Yeah.
pulls them back out, he's cutting his
Dude.
skin off. Mate. Oh, yeah. If you're a fan of Saw and Seven, I'd say
Yeah.
this is your kind of movie.
100%. We'll not talk about the ending much, but yeah, it's got a pretty suitable ending that ends up leading on to a second film.
Yeah, which I'm sure we'll happily cover again. There was the scene where the teenage daughter comes back with a date and is having sex on the kitchen worktop, and he's sort of just like watching, hoping they fall
Yeah.
into a trap. And you've got our protagonist trying to run and help her.
Mm.
And then the boyfriend just gets kicked into all these bear traps.
Oh yeah.
That is
It's bad.
Oh, he
one
like
of
lands
those
in it, doesn't it?
kills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrifying.
That was on I think it was either Watch Mojo or What Culture, where it was like 10 of like the goriest like deaths ever. Like just
Yeah.
for brutality, that's on it.
Yeah.
Like falling, he steps in it and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. And then his knee falls. It's so slow paced
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
So you're feeling like each bear trap closing on his fucking body. Oh man.
Nah.
Folks.
No. Not one that I'd like to imagine being in.
Absolutely. I'll say my bit on this now. So Matty introduced me to this film where I can't remember what it is, and it was like, do you want to watch horror? I was like, yeah, go on. He was like, have you seen The Collector? I was like, no, I have not seen The Collector. So we watched it, and I agree with Mike. It's so uncomfortable at bits because you're like, it's a weird thing because he is like an anti-hero that you're trying to root for, but you're also a shitty person. So like,
it's an odd perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, the suspense all the way through this is so uncomfortable, and you think, right, he's gonna get out now, and then there's something else, and then it's like something else, and it's just like, oh.
Well, bless him, he goes to help the people in the house as well, doesn't he? So even though he went in to rob them, he goes to help them, which is
because he's not a bad guy. He's down on his luck. That's the concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, sorry to butt in here. I know you were making a point. But when you find that red box again and you see the guy from the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, because that intro scene in there. Yeah.
And he's like, what he asks a question where he's like, what the fuck does this guy want? And he's like, he's collecting you. It's like, what? And he's like, he collects people. No, he's killing us. He only kills the people he doesn't want to collect. And I was like, oh, this is fucking sinister there.
Yeah.
Who the fuck collects people?
But the soundtrack to this as well is brilliant. For a standout track on this, for me, you got like Depeche Mode and like a different sort of version of I think it's Feel You. But yeah, I think that's on the credits coming out. But the soundtrack to this film is fucking bang on as well. Suits it perfectly.
Do you know what I didn't notice? I might have to go back and have a listen.
It's very like, in parts of it, it's very like industrial, like sort of sounding, that sort of vibe to it.
Which is probably why it reminded me of Seven, because it's got Nine Inch Nails all over it, Seven, and if this is quite industrial.
Yeah, all round.
It's like
for me, great
cranked, isn't it?
Yeah. Should we do our ratings on it?
Yeah, let's do that.
So for me, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Fucking hell. Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Lon?
So I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think it's not like overly harsh because it is a great film, but I don't want to like rank it too high because the others that I'm going to rank are like higher than that. So I think that's a fair thing.
It is hard, isn't it, to try and like get a good like grip on it. Well, for me, this is at a 4 because it was like a fresh like sort of watch for me. Do you know what I mean? When I first saw it, there wasn't anything again that had really been done similar to that, and the suspense all the way through just fucking sold it. And then you've got all the Saw vibes to it. So yeah, man.
I'm also giving it a 4 out of 5 because it made me want to, watch the sequel. And if you think about the time it came out, 2009, I think that was the height we had paranormal films to have. So to have something that's kind of touch upon like Saw is, and that much suspense where I was on the edge of my seat, kind of like, fucking hell, what's next? Sulfuric acid. You mad, mate? So 4 out of 5. Here's what Ryan had to say.
Hello, boys. Sorry I can't be with you for this week. I'm busy on tour, so I've just found myself a nice quiet room to record a couple of voice notes for you. So throughout this, you've got at least a couple of my ratings. So starting off with The Collector, short and sweet, half star. I thought this was fucking shit. Literally turned it off halfway last year when I tried watching it on like a horror bingo thing. Total bollocks. But I'm going to listen to what you guys say about it, and maybe I'll check it out and watch it properly, and when I return, I can give you a bit more feedback from that one.
I wonder if Ryan was talking nonsense. I'll find out when I edit this. But on the next film is chosen by Ryan, funnily enough. The Ritual came out in 2017. And the concept of the film is a group of old college friends reunite for a trip to a forest in Sweden, Northern Europe, but encounter a menacing presence stalking them. Okay. I feel really bad that Ryan isn't here to defend this film, which might give you an inclination on where I stand with it.
Oh, is it Another Evil Dead 2?
Feel? No, maybe not.
One of you guys start with this one.
Go on, Lon.
Well, I've not seen this one, so
motherfucker.
I am out of this.
Right. Let's get this out there. This is a slow-paced UK horror film, isn't it?
Yeah.
It kicks off with two of the group of friends who go for beers, don't they? Go to the shop for some alcohol and interrupt a robbery. And the guy that gets caught up in the robbery is Rob. He's refusing to give over his wedding ring, and that results in his death. And is it Luke? Yeah. Luke is hiding when he could have intervened, but also just give up the fucking wedding ring, man. You'd still be alive. That kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
But later on, you realize, like, so they go on this trip anyway after the friend has died. I think it's about 6 months later, maybe. And Luke's kind of dealing with survivor's guilt. I feel it's trying to do suspense, but the suspense is just too sporadic and I don't know, maybe not enough for me. Maybe I've got to watch it again. Matty, what did you think?
So yeah, going off that, like with the film, because there's that survivor's guilt there, him and his friends, like especially when things start heating up, like towards the middle of the film, they start like sort of arguing, and this becomes sort of like, you know what I mean, these sort of like heated arguments, and becomes sort of like the base of the film where they're all trying to get on with each other at the same time, like they're all like
clashing, aren't they?
Clashing at a point where they should be sticking together. So yeah, for me, it was again a predictable setting. It was like the wrong turn, and I love fucking Britain. Love the cult like vibes and the folky sort of horror, but there's a point where it just gets too samey. So it's like the people warning you before you get there about going into the woods.
Yeah,
shit's going to happen to you. They still go into the woods. They find a creepy barn and shit starts happening. It's just, yeah. And,
well, you've kind of got what I think was nice is, so this is kind of a monster movie as well.
Yeah.
Because in these woods is a monster. And I think it's manipulating the nightmares and making him see things. For instance, when Luke is hearing shit rustling around his tent, and he looks out to see his friend being killed again in the convenience store. So they're like kind of, I don't know, mentally fucking with them. That could be part of his survivor's guilt as well. I interpreted it as the monster was doing this. And you kind of see, like when they arrive in the woods, you see this elk like strung up in these trees, gutted, like Casey Becker, guts flying out. And then as friends disappear and they go looking for them, they're seeing the friend gutted like Casey Becker. And it's almost like the friends this group of friends are being sheepdogged and herded towards this barn.
Yeah.
It sounds, from my perspective, from seeing the trailer back when it came out, and from what you guys have said, I can see what Matty means, where it has very much like wrong turn vibe to it, but it's like if you did that and then amalgamated it with the Blair Witch Project, you'd end up with this. Would you say that's a fair assumption?
In a way, yeah. I mean, it goes further than that cabin on there. Oh, by the way, but to people, when we're actually on about wrong turn, we're on about the newer wrong turn, not the older one. Yeah. I know what you mean with that. And there is the whole wood situation, so they're going through the woods at night and seeing that all sort of stuff. So I guess, yeah, you could sort of say that with a Blair Witch like vibes to it. You don't really see what's going on and like what's getting them until probably about I don't know, would you say halfway through, maybe 3/4? But by that point, I'd fallen asleep. So,
see, that's the issue.
I think this film was.
I think it picks up halfway through.
Yeah, I got to the point where they get to like the main. I guess it's like the main village, and I think you've seen the animal by now. It's like a weird.
Yeah, this monster,
monster, isn't it?
Kind of looks like a huge fucking deer, but then has these little glowing eyes and arms sticking out the front. It reminded me of Krampus, which is a film, if you listen to last year's HorrorFest, I really like. but I know you two really do not like it.
Krampus.
Did it give you a Krampus feel, Matty? That fucking monster.
If I'm honest, I know I didn't.
That's all I could see.
Yeah. I don't
I've
know.
seen a
I
shot
thought
of
it was
it
quite
and,
odd. I
yeah.
was like, "What the fuck is that?" And then, yeah.
I mean, it's
apart
cool...
from seeing that was a cool concept. I'll give it that. Like, is that what he was going to say?
Yeah, it's cool to
Yeah.
see a new monster designed, in a completely different way.
Yeah, because you wouldn't really expect that, and I guess that's the cool things that sort of like cult horror films have. You like, it's the unexpected. Like, Wrong Turn had that vibe. I didn't expect that sort of thing to be going on with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, by this point, man, it was the film is so slow. By the time I got to that point, my eyes were drifting and I'd fallen asleep. I saw the animal. I don't know what the ending is to this film, so Pearson, you're gonna have to take over.
That's no problem. So you left with two of them, right? Luke, and unfortunately I can't remember the other gentleman's name, but our main protagonist is Luke, and he's been chosen by this monster to live forever and join them. And it almost becomes a cult kind of thing, similar to Wrong Turn with, the Foundation in the 2021 Wrong Turn. And he made a promise to a friend that you see die. And this is the last friend, the one I was just talking about. He says, burn this place to the ground. And he gets like, I want to say a crucifix, but it's not, because it kind of goes in like a Y shape, and he's like tied to it by this cult. And you see his wife approach him, and it turns out it's the monster making him hallucinate again. And then the monster fucking takes him and pins him up, and you see some other people pinned up in trees dying, who've also been through the same thing. So the promise to our main protagonist, Luke, cut back to him, and he ends up going up to the top of this barn where the other people who were chosen to live forever are. And it's basically like these mummified corpses, like they're still aging, can't move, but alive. So he ends up burning the place to the ground, shooting a bunch of people on his way down, like this creepy old woman who deserved to be shot, by the way. Fuck that woman. And then I think in the end, the monster gets him, from what I remember. And they all end up like Casey Becker. Spoilers.
Gutted.
Gutted. You'd be gutted, wouldn't you, mate?
After all
that. So I think I'm going to kick this off with ratings. And I feel really bad because I'd love to hear Ryan's perspective, as he chose this film.
Yeah.
And I was just messaging him before we started, and he was like, if anyone bitches about The Ritual, it's going to be hell to pay kind of thing. And here we are. Maybe we didn't get it. Maybe hearing Ryan's point of view, I'd go back and watch it with a different perspective. So that's the fun thing about this. I like HorrorFest because I get insight on what you're looking for in a film that I might not have. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 because I want to watch it again personally to maybe appreciate it a bit more, but it is very slow. And it's hard. I find slow films hard to stick with because me and my partner Jess have a rule of like, if we try a new film and it hasn't hooked you in the first 30 minutes, we look for another film. So this was a tricky one to stick with. But yeah, 3 out of 5 for myself, Matty.
A 1.5.
Whoa!
Honestly,
1.5.
So
He's done a Smith.
Dude.
Yeah,
what
I'm
did Smith rate?
Very sorry.
1 out of 5.
Fucking Evil Dead 2.
Somebody's got to give, man. If I'm giving 4s out, right, I've got to give I've got to have a good fucking,
fair enough,
a good sort of gauge on films. So yeah, a 1.5 because I probably will never go back and finish this film. It's predictable, and yeah, I just didn't enjoy it from what I saw of it.
He's gone though.
And you even telling me that ending, you haven't even sold it me because it just sounds like, again, the same thing that I've probably seen before.
Yeah, I might not have done it justice, and Ryan can sell this right now because Lun, you're not going to rate it, right?
Correct.
In it.
But I'm gonna say that based on the synopsis, I don't think I'd go out my way to watch it
No.
because it's
And did we sell it to you at all?
no.
Okay.
But no, in the sense of that, from a horror film, it's not really what I look for. I feel like the
Yeah.
only exception that's really gone like, oh, I might like this subgenre of horror is Midsummer, and I feel like that was a very much like rare thing that's come from that subgenre of like folk horror
Yeah.
woods.
That's got a big buzz because of the unique director, right? Ari Aster.
Correct, yeah.
2 hits in a row. So, yeah, it seems like the folk horror stuff's kind of people love. It's Marmite, isn't it? People
Hit
love
or
it or
miss,
hate
so,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what Ryan had to say.
Right, The Ritual. I think this was one that I picked. So rightfully so, I really like this one, so I'm giving it 4 stars. I'll fight any of you that disagrees. Matt, I know you said your partner Jess didn't like it, so I'd be keen to hear if you're talking about that and why she didn't like it, and also what you thought of it. So I'm looking forward to hearing this. But yeah, I just thought this is pure horror at its finest. I don't know if they're kind of targeting any other kind of messages within the film. I felt that like it's following a group of vulnerable friends after that tragic incident. And to me, I think their vulnerability is what makes them perfect subjects for the cult in the woods and why they're so kind of drawn into it and they're like easy subjects. Yeah, the film's really atmospheric throughout, and the scene where, you know, where they wake up in the middle of the night and the guy's like praying to that like wooden statue thing. The first time I saw that generally fucking terrified me. I was like, oh my God, I might actually be watching a film. This is going to scare me. Did kind of get a bit less scary towards the end, but it's still quite cool. I did like the big creature kind of thing and how like he just walks out of the woods and he's just kind of out in the open, and it kind of makes it quite terrifying that could be anywhere. I know it's kind of not ever going to be happening, but yeah, just the fact that it's like the other side of the woods, all this weird shit could be happening. I really liked it. Generally quite scared me. Thought it was fucking great, and the soundtrack was really good too. Just helped bring out that atmosphere. So yeah, 4 stars.
And coming back from Ryan, my fun fact for you. I'm a big true crime fan, so this was like, oh shit. The original tagline for this movie was "They should have gone to Vegas." However, due to Stephen Paddock's shooting on the 1st of October 2017, they had to change it to "They should have gone to Ibiza." So that's a bit nuts. If you want to learn more about that shooting and what actually happened, highly recommend I Could Murder a Podcast. Covered it extensively. Fucking, yeah, we love that fucking podcast. So if you find a true crime, go there. Okay. 3rd film. I feel like we are flying through these today.
We are flying through it.
Okay. Our 3rd film is Prom Night. Released in 1980. At a high school senior prom, a masked killer stalks 4 teenagers who were responsible for the accidental death of a classmate 6 years prior. This is starring Jamie Lee Curtis, and this was in between Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, and it was one of 3 slashers she did that between that time. The other 2 being The Fog by John Carpenter and Terror Train, which is a
great
one
film
we've recently been talking about with Mai. What did we all think?
I was going to mention the the slasher phase that Jamie Lee Curtis went through. That this is kind of like sat right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
and it is interesting. I feel like there is certain elements of it where it is inspired by Halloween, and I don't know if that's like too much of a push forward, but like there is in certain tropes of like the way that people have been killed and then displayed afterwards.
yeah,
Like that stands out as like Halloween, and I don't know if that was like something that was done on purpose. Then it probably was because of how popular Halloween was at that stage.
I mean, this is what 2 years after Halloween, so
yeah, absolutely. Overall, I think it's an interesting premise. Obviously, it's gained enough traction and popularity over the years because there was a remake of it not too long ago, about a decade ago.
I know the remake better than I know this one.
Oh, really?
Which is why I chose this, because Jess is a huge fan of the remake. And the remake's a little different because it's about... So the remake, if I'm remembering correctly, isn't an accidental death of a classmate 6 years ago. It's a girl's family was murdered and she hid and watched it happen. Moves in
Right.
with her aunt, and then so there's a bit of a twist there where it's different, and I kind of get why they did that, which you'll find out as we speak about this movie a bit more, I think. So I always wanted to watch the original because I love 80s horror, as we know. So I think this is one me and Matty were both like, that's got to be on there, weren't we?
Yeah, 100%. It's a classic from that sort of era, and obviously captured within the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's a classic slasher film. It's got a cult following to it. I've not really seen I've probably seen the remake once, so I'm not as familiar with it. In regards to like the premise,
I will say the remake does have Idris Elba in it, so
Oh damn.
something good to look at, you know.
I knew I wasn't disappointed in it when I saw it. Like, so obviously that's a plus. But yeah, so this prom night is basically it's her. She's the sister. Jamie Lee Curtis. She plays the sister.
Yeah.
And
there's
the
brother.
classmate that was murdered.
Yeah, she was like sort of bullied
in the family. Yeah.
She was like bullied, and then she falls out of a window and dies.
Sorry, but can we just say how fucking bleak is that kid's game of hide and seek that they're playing? They're all shouting "kill."
Yeah, what the fuck? Jesus.
Grim.
So you kind of like, I mean, when you're through the film, you kind of get like a sort of an idea of who this killer could be, but then it sort of trails you off the path, doesn't it, throughout the film until the end.
So am I right in saying someone got pinned for the murder of the girl who was accidentally murdered 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And they break out at a similar time of these 4 teenagers going to prom again.
Yeah.
Did anyone else get like the references from When a Stranger Calls at all?
Yeah.
That really was kind of cool to see, because after we spoke about it, I was like, what's the chances that these have, this didn't come before When a Stranger Calls in our list? And that wasn't intentional, that was just chance. Because like each kid, well, I should say teenagers, each teenager gets a phone call and you kind of like, ooh, what the fuck's that? And it becomes a who done it, and the killer is out at the same time. The guy that's previously got the blame for it is out and escaped.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that vibe from it. Absolutely. I found it a bit weird where it was the shadow of like the killer whilst he's making like the phone calls. Like, I thought it would make it like more obvious, or kind of like cut it down who it could be. But I feel like there should have been a bit more mystery to it.
Yeah, well, that's where it kind of confused me, because you're like, you think who could do this, but then you're like, well, the killer who isn't the killer is just out and escaped and being hunted by the police. And it's not until much later on in the film you're like, oh, we caught him. So now you are trying to figure out, who is it?
Yeah.
Apparently this film gets compared a lot to Halloween and Carrie.
Yeah, I was going to say Carrie. Yeah.
I think Carrie because of
the prom
obviously
situation.
prom.
Yeah.
But I think
the
that's
bullying and the girl being bullied in it. And
that's true. Yeah. Forget about the bullying in Carrie.
Yeah. God.
It's fucking. That's the main like base of it.
Carrie,
It's fucking grim.
So I'm going to go ahead and say it straight away. I think this film suffers so much from being really slow paced.
It is very slow paced.
Like, even before any killing is done in this film, it's about an hour runtime.
Yeah, it does take a while.
And then it just kind of like crams it. So it's like, and then it's like from one to another to another to another, and there's no breaking
like,
in between.
Once you see one kill, you're seeing the rest.
It's trying to set up that sort of character development in it within all the characters, especially obviously Jamie Lee's character.
And just coming off the back of The Ritual, it's not as slow as The Ritual. I'd still say watch this pacing wise. Don't let that put you off.
Oh no, I
still think. Go on, Lon.
it's more to like another person's taste than another person that it's not the thing in terms of pacing when it comes to story and stuff like that. There's bits as well where, like, for example, like the main chase scene, which is like 8 minutes long. I feel like the payoff on how that ends is a bit anticlimactic in comparison to like there's no real payoff on it, because when you're following this person being chased around for that long, you expect like the end result to be either ridiculously gory or a decent enough kill or something creative, not being like really close up.
Yeah. No, I don't know where you're coming from. Go on, Peterson.
I was just going to say, if you think about it, though, this is early slasher films. This is still trying to establish what is a slasher film. And, you know, if you go in thinking about it like that, this is playing around with what comes to be a very overdone genre, right?
Oh, yeah,
people get
absolutely.
sick of it further down the line. But
back then, if you think of it from the perspective of when it came out, and like you were bang in the middle of all these different slasher films breaking out and sort of pushing the boundaries in regards to like cinema and what you see in the cinema and stuff like that, would have been pretty fucking scary.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert coming up. Not that we ever do that. I'm just gonna stop saying spoiler and spoil it for you. Right, the ending, when we find out the killer is Alex, the brother of Jamie Lee Curtis, mourning the death of his sister still. I think this is one of the earliest times that I've seen where you sympathize with the killer, and you kind of like,
I noticed that
in a weird way. Yeah,
it's like, you know, films prior to, I've never sympathized with Michael Myers, I'll be honest with you. So like, you know, before that, have you sympathized with a killer where you're like, I see why they're doing it, and they're completely, you understand how they could get there?
Yeah, because you don't exactly go like, oh, poor Freddy.
Yeah, poor Freddy.
Yeah.
Killing kids, down on his luck. You go in those dreams and get some more, Freddy. Good for you, mate. Whereas like,
what about Jason? No, Jason, man, he got drowned by all those people because they were too busy like snogging and shagging.
But it's never sold that I should sympathize with him. It's just like, you're a mummy's boy and you're being manipulated by your mum originally. Now you're in space. You know, now you're in Manhattan. In fact, I'd love a guide on how to get into the Friday the 13th films. Little side note there for you. I struggle so much. I like the first one.
Let us know in the comments.
I'll tell you what, dudes. We'll have
Kevin
a marathon
Bacon's kill. Let's do it. I want to.
I've just got on Blu-ray, so we'll have a marathon.
Perfect.
Here's the thing as well with Prom Night. To my recollection, it's the first time that I've seen a final girl not actually be at like any risk throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Wait, is she not at risk?
Well, no, because at the end of the day, it's his sister. So
you don't really know that, do you? To the end of what you mean. So
it's only afterwards where you kind of think, well,
it's implied,
isn't it?
Yeah. It's implied that she's at risk.
Yeah, it is implied.
This group of teenagers are dying. She might die as well. She's part of that group. Not Jamie Lee Curtis, our scream queen. But yeah, you got a good point. Like, he's mourning the death of his sister. He's not going to want to mourn the death of two sisters, is he?
No.
Can we just talk about the? Sorry, go on, Lord.
We were saying as well, like, because he doesn't go for Jamie Lee Curtis when that final fight scene. He goes for the boyfriend, not her.
Yeah. So I was going to mention this. So the head decapitation scene as well. Holy fuck. And the effects on that as well, when it's sat on that, like, is it sat on like some sort of stage or something?
Is the fucking disco lights after it? So
the disco music as well in this is fantastic. And like,
it's like
not
3 minutes into it, like dancing, and it's like 3 minutes.
So the effects on this are pretty cool though. And if you think about Halloween had like no gore in it at all. I don't think there's any gore in Halloween. And then you come to this and you're like, oh shit. This dude's fucking chopping heads off and that.
I like the kills. I think they're fucking cool. And this is one, and I'm going to mention it in later on in another film we're covering. I feel the cover, and especially in the 80s, has become an iconic cover. You know,
100%.
the balaclava and axe, isn't it?
So this is another thing I want to get to. So the way the killer's dressed as well. At the time, I think I said this on the other one of the previous episodes as well. In that area, especially within like California and throughout America, you had like the serial killers like Ted Bundy. You had that like Golden State Killer going around, and you know people who were literally dressing like this, like in a balaclava and in all black and going around killing people.
Yeah.
So like the fact that it's playing off that and preying on also people's fears at the time within like different communities, that must have been fucking scary because this shit was going on in real life
Oh,
at the same time.
Never really thought about that.
No.
Yeah, and the way this guy's dressed also, I don't know if they did or not, but is the same way as the guy from The Collector's dressed as well.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that.
Home invasion balaclava style.
Black long sleeve, like belt on, pants, black boots, gloves.
Just no contacts.
There's no contacts this
Yeah,
time.
no contacts this time. The tagline for this movie is, if you're not back by midnight, you won't be coming home. And like,
Love it.
now that you've just said Ted Bundy's about fucking, you know, killing down women the way he did.
Yeah. Home invasions and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's fucking scary shit. Luckily, it ain't prom night for us, so we're okay. But
we're past that. We're getting
survive prom night.
I don't really have a fun fact, but I do know. Well, okay, I got a fun fact off the top of my head. The disco songs you hear, they were composed in 5 days.
What?
Fucking incredible, right?
That's amazing.
And I believe the writer was instructed to pick a holiday specifically for this slasher film, and he picked Prom Night. Not quite a holiday for us, I don't think, but you know, Americans, I think it does class as one, maybe.
Yeah.
It's cool because you have all these different concepts, don't you, around that time with different like slasher films. So you've got like the Slumber Party Massacre, for example. Then you have got Prom Night. You've got Halloween where you babysit. You know, there's all these different scenarios. But
yeah.
Can we give a shout out to the joint book?
Yes.
Yeah. That is incredible. Like the amount of like the stash in that book is ridiculous.
It becomes a bucket, doesn't it?
Then the poor fellow goes off a cliff with his van.
Swan dives into the van. Well, with the van, should I say?
Yeet.
Yeet.
Fucking hell.
Also, as well, that caretaker.
Oh, isn't he like?
He's so creepy.
Bit noncy.
He's just like
bit of a noncy caretaker who's kind of got a look of Justin Long.
Oh, dude.
No offense to Justin Long, but yeah, he definitely does have a look of Justin Long.
Because you see when she's like, hello.
Would you? So, am I right in saying both of you haven't watched the remake?
We have.
I've watched the remake once, but it was a very long time ago.
Has he got you in the mood to watch the remake after watching this?
I'd probably. Do you know what? I want to go back and rewatch both, if I'm honest with you.
Because I feel like this storyline doesn't feel like predictable or old.
No.
It's weird and different. Probably because the setting it is something we don't consider a holiday.
Yeah.
100%. What studio was the remake released by? I know that's a really bizarre question.
My dear God. Let me find out for you.
Did it come out in like 2006 or something?
I remember it coming out when we were using high school, so it must have been about like 2008.
Go on, get your guesses in.
I'm saying 8.
I'm saying 6.
One is correct. 2008.
Nice one. Here he is.
Starring Brittany Snow.
So I'm saying it'd be interesting depending on which studio it's by, because like the Elm Street remake was 2 years after, wasn't it? Which was 20.
Oh God.
I think it's 2010. The Elm Street remake
was
2011.
Elm Street remake.
2010
so
sounds about right.
The reason I'm saying is that because they've altered the storyline on the Prom Night remake.
Yeah.
So maybe the whole idea of altering the Elm Street one potentially came from this,
That's
with
a
how
good thought.
they've approached the remake.
I'm trying to find it, but I don't really know where I'd tell you. Does anyone know where it would tell you? What studio?
No. Should we crack on anyway?
I'm saying we
find out
can cut
later.
all this out anyway.
Yeah,
so,
for
like,
sure.
Then we can just jump right back
Whoa,
into
some
it.
of the remakes are getting like 1 star, 2 stars. I like the remake. Fuck you all.
Oh, I'm not.
In fact, I will say the remake feels kind of like you know, it's the same way I look at House of Wax. It's that cheesy, weird trash that I'll still watch. Does that make sense?
Oh, Sony Pictures.
Oh, there you go.
So no, it might be absolutely no correlation to what I just said whatsoever. But there you are. Anyway.
Okay. Let's jump on to the ratings. Lun, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll make a start on this one. So I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Okay.
Due to the fact of that, yeah, it does introduce like some original concepts, but I feel like it suffers from, one, the pacing, and two, I feel like it's more outdated than other releases around that time. Like, I felt very aware that it was an old film.
Yeah, I kind of get
like with like Halloween, you're not like, it's not like the forethought of it, but I was very aware that it was a fucking disco, and that like
do you not like fucking disco or something, Lon?
And like fucking flashy heads, like boo, boo, boo.
Dear God.
I'm not against disco, but
okay, all right.
Or am I?
See, it's weird because some people pick up on this stuff, some people like don't. Because I know like Eb, she doesn't like watching older films. I think because of that reason. Whereas for me, it don't make a difference. I can go back and watch the old Universal Monsters, and it won't like phase me or like the dating of it. But I think I know what you mean. Some people are very like aware when it comes to that, and it kind of puts them off watching older films.
So a friend's ex-girlfriend of mine, she was like, I hate older films. And I was like, oh, okay. What you classing as an older film? She was like, and keep in mind, this is a few years ago. She was like, I was like, me and my mate, it's Darren. I was like, me and Darren love Sex Drive. And she was like, when did that come out? I was like, 2006. She was like, nope, too old. I was like, too old. What? I was like, what are you saying about yourself? That pissed me off so much.
Wow. Complete curveball on that, but this will also make us feel really old and that. But Slipknot is now on dad rock playlists.
Really?
Yeah.
I had Jess say that to me the other day. She was like, what did you grow up listening to? I was like, Metallica, Slipknot, Limp Bizkit. She was like, dad rock. I was like, no. But I suppose she ain't wrong with Metallica, but fuck.
That's fucking sad.
I know.
But anyway, Matty.
So yeah, Matty, what are you rating Prom Night?
For me, this is getting a 3. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Nice. Okay.
Okay.
No points, just straight to
just like the same reasons. Again, I'm trying to like gauge the system right, so I'm not giving everything like a fucking good score. It was a brilliant film for the time. Jamie Lee Curtis smashes it as usual as a screen queen. Just the concept of it. Again, the whole prom night situation. Yeah, dude, I love it, and the killer as well. The whole, because it's got that whole slasher vibe going. If you love your slashers, this has got everything you want for a slasher.
Yeah, I think it was definitely creating some of the like signifiers that this is a slasher because it does this or it does that. I'm giving it 2.5. And I was torn between a 2.5 and a 3.
Yeah.
But the reason I went for the lower rating is, given the option, there's other slashers around that time I'd prefer to watch. Like, I've not seen Terror Train. I've seen The Fog. In fact, I wouldn't even call The Fog a slasher. but like I'd rather watch Halloween kind of thing. But I appreciate it. Would watch it again every now and then, but I'm not jumping to watch it. Here's what Ryan had to say.
Okay, so thoughts on Prom Night. So with this one, I remember seeing it on the list and thinking I hadn't seen it. And then as I was watching it, I realised I have. And quite recently, I only watched it last year. So it shows it's not very memorable. And to be honest, I don't think I liked it even when I watched it the first time. Like, it didn't really do anything new. It's, it's just your standard slasher, and they try to throw a bit of a twist at the end, but it wasn't that exciting. Yeah, I'm going to give Prom Night 2 out of 5.
And okay, here's our big section in it. So what are we on? Film 4? 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4.
Be a chunky boy.
4.
Okay. Film 4. Strap in, people. It's Wes Cravens' New Nightmare, released in 1994. The synopsis was lifted straight from IMDb, so don't judge me over this one. A demonic force has chosen Freddy Krueger as its portal to the real world. Can Heather Langenkamp play the part of Nancy one last time and trap the evil trying to enter our world? Kind of gets the point across, I think.
Yeah, it does.
That's why I said don't judge me. Right, let's talk meta, because that's all this fucking film, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, go on, you set the fucking... I know you've been warming your vocal cords up for this.
You chose this film, so talk to us.
So I'm going to go straight into it and say, in terms of the whole Elm Street franchise, where this sits, this is number 2 for me.
Oh, wow, okay.
So the reason why is because it's such a nostalgia train. Like, you gotta bear in mind, this is straight after, obviously, all the franchise, like up to Freddy's Dead, where at that point, people didn't see Freddy as a scary thing anymore. It was more just like a culture,
the comical
icon
thing, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, to the point where like the makeup wasn't scary anymore or whatever else. And by that point, Wes Craven had been involved in the Freddy franchise for a long time.
Yeah.
Like he had like minor involvement in Dream Warriors, but it kind of ended there. So this was kind of like the reintroduction of Wes Craven going, to add to that, he was like, I won't get involved or come up with another Nightmare on Elm Street until I have like a solid idea for it. And this is the result of that. I think as well, this is very much testing the idea of meta before Scream.
100%. This is his dry run, isn't it?
Yeah. And it works so nicely. Like the pacing on it, like there's never a point in this film where you're kind of like, all right, I'm bored of this now. Like there's some sort of suspense or interesting aspect about each and every bit of it. Like there is like certain 90s vibes to it, which is obvious because it was in 94.
It's a 90s film, yeah.
However, it doesn't deteriorate the film. Like in terms of like storyline, it flows nicely. There's never a point of where it just stays in one place. It constantly moves from one thing to another, and then in that, like when it gets to like the final act as such, and it starts being like a nostalgia train, like bringing back the Elm Street house. It gives like subtle nods, but doesn't go fully out of its way to like be like, here's something you might know from Elm Street 1.
Yeah.
And I think it does that nicely. I think the redesign of Freddy is incredible in this film.
It's like a much darker Freddy we've got, isn't it? It's like you say, you've got like the goofy, comical. They were focusing on the quick puns Robert Englund could say. In like the later sequels. Am I right in saying Freddy's Dead was out before this? Yeah, so like you thought they were done with the franchise kind of thing.
Well, that's what the film kind of points to, because she's on the talk show Heather Langenkamp, and the interviews going like, "Is he really dead? Is there not another thing?"
And then you've got Robert Englund coming
and he
on,
comes out in full gear,
dressed as Freddy. Yeah.
And it's like everyone in Freddy masks and things like that, and he's like in the spotlight, and he's like swaying his arms in slow mo with the glove.
Oh, mate.
I
love this movie.
Yeah, someone else speak.
So are you rating this over 3 then? You rating this over Dream Warriors?
So,
yeah, 100%.
wait, so number out of your Freddy list, which will be a different episode for a different day,
Oh, absolutely.
you've got OG number 1, then this.
Mm-hmm. Then
God
3.
Wow.
Damn. Okay.
Wow. Mine would be like, just swap them two around.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, Matty.
Wow.
Yeah, like I mean, I know I'm not going to expand into it too much because we'll probably discuss this for another day. But I feel like, the number 3 introduces certain things which are iconic. However, I like the creepiness of 1 and New Nightmare. That's what
That's fair,
I like Freddy being a bit more mysterious than kind of like, here's some drug needles on my hand.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, don't get me wrong. It's probably like, apart from 1, probably the best makeup that's been done on Freddy throughout the full franchise.
To me, the makeup, I kind of got like a hard plastic feeling from it. Like, you know, when you look at masks and you see that very hard plastic.
The shine off it.
Yeah, you kind
Yeah.
of get that feeling of it. Also, another reference to When a Stranger Calls. We open with an earthquake, right? But also Heather Langenkamp's getting these phone calls from a stalker,
which again,
singing 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Stuff
Yeah,
like
That's
that.
so good.
yeah. Which again is how Scream starts.
Yeah. So it is the absolute dry run, but it's also, there you go. 2 films in this this episode has referenced When a Stranger Calls. If you want to hear us talk about that, episode 1 of this year.
So, Pearson, you mentioned obviously that begins with earthquakes. I don't know if your fun facts kind of intertwine with this.
It doesn't.
Right. Okay.
But by all means, I know exactly which one you're about to do.
So you was telling us on the rewatch of this, and I couldn't believe it at the time when I was watching it.
So the earthquake was written into the storyline as they were filming because an actual earthquake happened as they were filming it. So the footage of the buildings being all rubble, etc., is actually from that time, and was kind of tied into the plot of it, which is insane.
Yeah,
that's fucking perfect. And the fact that they drive it into the storyline as well of that's what's sort of happening, and it's Freddy. You know what I mean? Freddy manipulating bits as well with it. It's fucking cool. That it's clever, very clever.
So go on, Mike. What's your thoughts?
So again, like you said, because it's a precursor to Scream, it's cool to see like him like testing all this bit out, but also doing a fucking brilliant job of it. Yeah. So the glove, for example, in this, so they're working on like a new like Nightmare on Elm Street film, and you see the glove and it's all like mechanical and that, and the bit where it just goes missing off there, you know, when they test it. And then the references as well to sort of the older films with in this as well of A Nightmare on Elm Street are pretty fucking cool. This like a scene that stood out to me on this film was the hospital scene towards the end, where no one's still believing her about Freddy.
Yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, and the fact that Freddy's actually going around to each one of these people. So even Robert Englund himself is getting fucking tortured by Freddy.
Yeah, it's like his paintings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on his paintings and everything. But that scene in the hospital though, when people actually see something's going down and people are getting fucking thrown across the roof, and that is it not Nancy? What's her name?
Oh, it's Heather? The babysitter, isn't
it? No, I'm on about in the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh,
Tina.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, they just get fucking thrown around the room like Tina does.
In the first one.
Yeah. So somebody's getting killed Tina style in the hospital.
Or as he says, skin the cat.
Oh.
But yeah, that scene's fucking mental. And all the nurses come in and that. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here? And you see him standing on the roof, and that's a fucking cool scene. And his outfit just makes it as well. The whole
trench coat that he's now got. Yeah. I was like, that's so cool.
Flash a trench coat. I do feel like if anyone's listening or watching this that hasn't seen A New Nightmare, I feel like the synopsis didn't do it justice. So you've got everyone playing themselves, and also the acknowledges the previous films that have been made, right? And you see Wes Craven is shooting a new Freddy film, and Robert Englund's in it, and Heather is reluctant to step into the film to bring back Freddy because she's now got a son being influenced by what she does, and she doesn't know whether she wants to continue that sort of thing. Meanwhile, you got the stalker, teasing her. Her husband works on the set. Am I right there?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all these like weird nods, and I feel like halfway through, you've kind of got to work out what the fuck is going on here. Like it took me
100%,
so many
yeah.
watches. Because the kid of Heather Langenkamp is being terrorized by Freddy.
Is it Max?
I feel like you're right there.
I think it's Max.
I don't fucking know. I'm gonna take your word. You love Freddy.
Max.
Max. And it's like they crawl under the bed into almost like
Yeah.
here's the world with Freddy, and you've got is it Rex, Max's toy, protecting him?
Yeah. That's cool.
So it's like this weird blend of a world where you're like, we've established this
So
is
is
real life
Dylan.
characters. Oh, Dylan. Apologies, horror fans.
And the babysitter is Julie.
Right, okay. So yeah, we've established like Heather Langenkamp is Heather Langenkamp. And then all of a sudden it's like this different dimension, and it's Nancy. And
But it's cool seeing that perspective.
it's very fun.
Yeah. So like I know what you mean why it's a bit confusing parts, because you're like watching it like, holy shit, like this is so meta, it's confusing at points. And the bit where it's just cool as well though to see Wes Craven as well in it. So she's going to the producer's like office and
Bob Shaye's in it from New
yeah,
Oh, fucking
they're trying to convince Heather to come back for another film. Going back to my other point about it relating to some of the old films, you've got the scene where Heather's husband or boyfriend is driving, and Freddy's claw comes up in between the seat.
Yeah.
Just like he does to Heather in the first film in the bath, which I thought was pretty cool. Well, that's a brutal death
there's
as
that.
well.
There's the bit where John Saxon starts playing Nancy's dad near the end before the final act.
Shit!
And it turns around and it's the end street house. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think the fucking build up to actually like seeing Freddy properly.
Oh no!
Where
while,
she looks into like the closet and he just pops out and goes, "Miss me."
Yeah. There's some good scares in this.
Oh man, it's so good, so fucking good. What did you think of the concept of that it wasn't really Freddy at all? Like it's an evil entity, as they describe it.
I don't hate the idea, because I still in my mind think it's Freddy, because
Yeah, it looks like Freddy.
Nothing was completely out of character for me to think this isn't Freddy. It's someone, possessing the style of Freddy.
Yeah, the embodiment.
Yeah, it's almost like and this is in this year's HorrorFest. Freddy versus Jason. Years later, Freddy isn't as powerful and chooses Jason to evoke fear upon Elm Street. So then people believe in Freddy again. I just kind of see it as a similar thing, but Freddy is the chosen one in this instance.
Yeah, no, that's a fair shout on it.
What do you think, Mai?
The whole evil entity thing, I think is a cool idea, because I mean that could open it up to different things. It's kind of like it in it, where like that's sort of like the dead lights. That's an evil entity, and it takes the form of whatever you fear.
Yeah,
it's got, what I mean.
That's true.
It's kind of like that, and yeah, there's nothing really much to say about it. I just think it's cool. I don't, like you said, it doesn't take away from the story, and it doesn't take away from it being Freddy. It's just cool to see a whole new, different Freddy coming out, and he's a lot more scary, a lot more menacing. And
I think it's also fun to see Robert Englund playing Robert Englund and Wes Craven playing Wes Craven.
Love it.
Like even having like the B characters from the first film, like at the funeral scene. Like you got Todd,
yeah.
You got
fucking
Todd,
hell,
and you've got Tina there and stuff
Completely
like that.
fucking forgot. Yeah,
mate. Yeah, this is definitely your classic 90s meta. If you're a fan of Scream, you'd enjoy this.
Did you also notice as well, the person that played Julie, so the babysitter for Dylan, is also the mum in the Scream remake of the TV series.
I'll have to double check.
Mate,
So
yeah,
no,
lost me there.
So the person who plays the babysitter in New Nightmare
Yeah.
is the mum in the TV version of Scream of the main
Oh,
character.
okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. So it is. Yeah,
There you go.
that's looking cool.
Lun's fun
Little
facts.
connections. Nice.
I bring the fun
Yeah.
fact.
I like it, yeah. While we're on fun facts, my one for this is the events in this film involving Heather Langenkamp having a stalker is real. She did in real life, and Wes Craven got permission to include it and weave it into the story.
That's
So
insane.
a bit fucked up.
Wow.
Good old Wes.
Yeah, good old Wes fucking with his actors. Hey, you know this traumatic thing you're going through? Can I add it to my
play
film?
it?
Want to play a game?
But you know
Hi,
what?
I'm Wes. Want to play a game?
You always hear like everyone, whoever's worked with him, always says he was like the nicest guy, and that was like obviously before he even passed away. Like people
Yeah.
saying that it's not just one of those things, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucking cool that he still brings. He likes to bring back those old characters as well, and you know what I mean. They still appreciate it.
I really love Wes Craven and his. I think when you look through his catalog of films he's created, they're always exciting and new, and you know, luckily, more than one of them remade a whole genre. So, like, The People Under the Stairs for me is a very loved Wes Craven film that
Very underrated.
it's a weird one. It's hard to describe, but home invasion movie feels refreshing all of a sudden again.
You've even got in between this and then Scream, you've got what we've got on the list this year, Wishmaster.
Oh, have you? So I've not watched that yet.
The shit.
I'm excited for that.
Ah, yes. You'll
So
get
that'll
that.
be that'll be episode 4, and we'll find out whether I'm into it or not.
Oh, God,
man.
it'd be so interesting. All right, what are we rating it?
I'll kick this one off considering I've been finishing them. 4 out of 5 for me. It's fun, exciting, very meta, even funner that, you know, it's a dry run for Scream, and it's Wes playing around with what is soon to be a classic. I always end up putting this on every now and then.
Mine's a 3.5. Again, I can go back and watch it every so often. It's not my favorite of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but I do like the fact that it brought this whole meta thing to life and sort of, like we said, passed it over to Scream. And yeah, Wes Craven's a fucking sick guy. He knows what he's doing.
For sure. Lun?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm torn because I remember I gave Elm Street a 10 last year.
Which means 5.
Oh
Which is
shit!
a
Yeah, we
5.
did 10s last year.
Yeah.
Look at it,
So we're doing 5s this year. So I'm trying to translate it. So
we'll
I'm
be
gonna
doing
go
5s every year from now on, just to let people know.
we're sticking with the premise now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Oh, okay.
Just
Nice.
Obviously, I have a soft spot for both Elm Street 1 and New Nightmare. New Nightmare, to me, is very much a comfort film. Like, I can just put it on and I'll watch it happily.
100%.
Yeah, from the costume design to the premise to how fucking meta this film is, it's so good.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Go
Yeah,
watch
boy.
this film if you haven't. And let's hear what Ryan had to say about it.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I thought this was a really cool plot, especially as this is like the 6th or 7th sequel. So like by this point, franchises usually die off. Like I actually started watching the box set this year, and I've still not seen Freddy's Dead because like 5 kind of just dripped off a bit, and I was like, kind of losing interest now. But yeah, I need to check out Freddy's Dead. But I remember last year watching New Nightmare after hearing you guys talking about it on like another podcast, or you might have mentioned it on the horror HorrorFest last year. But yeah, I checked it out, really liked it. Thought it was a really cool, fresh take. So yeah, 3.5 stars for Wes Cravens New Nightmare.
And right. I agree, Ryan, because I assume you liked it.
You
Our
better.
next film is Prince of Darkness, released in 1987, a John Carpenter film. A group of graduate students and scientists uncover an ancient canister in an abandoned church. But when they open the canister, they inadvertently unleash a strange liquid and an evil force upon all humanity.
That's
As you can
correct.
see,
I
Lund
just-
has removed his headphones because he has not watched this film.
I wonder what he was doing at first. I was like, is he going for a piss? Or...
Lund's going to take a break. Lund, I'll do this when I want you to come on. I'm going to assume he got that. Yeah, go brew a coffee. Right, Matty, let's get into this, because this is a film. We went seeing John Carpenter live, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
big projector in the back showing off all his films and themes. And we spoke about this one extensively. And I don't think it was the film I wanted to know, but I ended up watching this anyway. Alice Cooper is in it, for anyone that wants to know. And it's also got like a lot of the cast of what the fuck's the film called? Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah. Donald Pleasance comes back for this one.
He does, yeah. Go on, mate. What are you saying?
Well, this is John Carpenter. You know, he makes fucking his films a lot of them are very like original. Again, you don't really see, you've never really seen anything like it before. So in regards to this being sort of like a demonic possession sort of film, it's a twist on it compared to, say, if you put it next to The Exorcist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you kind of get that. So again, I'll try and do what I've just done for New Nightmare for any listeners that haven't seen it. This canister's in a church that's been abandoned, and a priest has seeked out, the priest being Donald Pleasance, seeks out a professor at a local university, needs help with it, and basically it's a weekend, I suppose a weekend or a night of these teams of people getting together, and no one really knows what's going on, and you're kind of trying to work it out at the same time. And
well, they're all from different labs in this. They're all from like
like some are students just trying to learn, some are I specialize in this and this.
Yeah. And they're all trying to study what the fuck this, like, it's like a liquid in it.
Yeah, but it's giving off like energy, right?
Yeah. So when you get there, you've got all these people roaming around who you assume are homeless people, but they're kind of like zombified at the same time as well. They're in a trance, which you later find out they're being controlled by the energy of this thing, like whatever it is. And that includes Alice Cooper as well.
Yep.
We only find out a bit later on. It's sort of like, it's got that sort of demonic vibe to it, and it's a different entity from what you because you don't really know what it is, do you, at first? You're like,
I'll be honest, so I went in off your recommendation and I was really excited for it because John Carpenter and Alice Cooper, this is going to be sick. John Carpenter's doing the score with Alan Howarth, so it's going to be a good time, and I felt very bored of it at the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
It feels like a very slow setup to me.
Yeah.
But then I don't know how you would have sped that up at all. So
I know I can understand where you're coming from. Yeah. But it has got a sort of, it's setting it up in a way. There's nothing really that sticks out to you as like, compared to the end of the film where it really gets going.
Yeah,
so because it's trying to set it up for that long.
And it does. Once it gets to that point, I was like, oh, this is the John Carpenter film.
Yeah.
I get like it's a weekend, so there's parts of the team sleeping while other parts are working, and the ones that are sleeping, they all have the same dream about this shadowy figure in a church, right?
Yeah.
And that's because of this liquid influencing them. And yeah, so how do I'm trying to think of how I explain how it all kicks off. So part of these homeless people get one or two of these scientists, and you just the rest of the team are like, oh, they've left, they're sick of this, because no one really knows what's going on.
No.
So it's just assumed if someone's missing, they're assuming, oh, they've left, which isn't necessarily the case, but no one bothers to find out.
Well, it's the bit where they go outside and they come out through the door. They come down, walking down the stairs, and there's just a fucking row of these like homeless people in front of them.
Yeah, and it is almost like this mummy style. It's not like saying anything or no zombies, like brains, you know.
No.
And the first kill you get is Alice Cooper stabbing someone with like half a bicycle.
Yeah, is it down the alleyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a fun fact early because I got a few. That was something that was incorporated into Alice Cooper's live show. And I think he had it before that film and used it for this as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, then eventually some of the scientists are similar to the homeless in sort of this mummified, brainwashed way, right? And they're trying to get the canister and open it up. Am I right in saying open it up or unleash it?
Yeah.
Unleash,
well, like I said, they're still trying.
Better term.
Yeah. Yeah, and as the film goes on, they realize it's like it's the whole mirror sort of thing going on there. So when you're looking into the mirror, and that sort of leads into this other world. So the mirror is used as sort of like a passageway,
like a different dimension kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like this mirror can bring this being through.
Yeah. Basically, that's like the portal.
That's the goal
into our world. Yeah, so that was the goal for the film. That's the portal into the world.
Get the being through the mirror.
Yeah. So they go around smashing all these mirrors to try and stop this from happening. All the while, shit's going down. Basically, people
are being picked off one by one, aren't they?
Yeah. I forget what the woman's name is, and she's basically like skinned, like all of the skin's like burning and shit.
Fuck. Yeah, some of the kills in this, and the shout out to the makeup and special effects because I know they 100%. Listen.
Yeah,
mate. When the woman has the mark on her arm and she's the chosen one, and she's sort of on this bed, almost getting like an Exorcist style fuck up on her face, and then she looks pregnant, and then.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking again. Those sort of like effects, those remind me of The Thing.
Yeah, funny you say that. Yeah. This was John Carpenter had enough of studios and the creative say that they wanted.
Yeah,
and took a lower deal with a company, and this company helped him remake The Thing after this.
Shit,
so you can kind of see the the ball rolling with like, oh, I like these special effects and stuff. And John Carpenter's The Thing is a 5 out of 5 movie for me. If it was on this list, it's one of my favorites.
But anyway, like especially so the whole suspense throughout this film and what the music brings to it, because with every John Carpenter film, he brings a whole different fucking ball game to it with the soundtrack that he does to it. This film wouldn't be anywhere near as good without that soundtrack behind it.
There's something I know me and you particularly love, given we have a horror band, but it's his simplicity in what he does. And I think I can't remember what film it is, but it was John Carpenter working with Alan Howarth again. It might have been The Thing, actually. And he says, make it simpler to Alan Howarth, who wants to do a bit more intricate stuff. And there's something about John Carpenter where, his keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
tracks are just so effective in these films.
So another thing on this as well, I want to point out that ending scene. So actually before that, so Donald Pleasant's character and the again the character development in this, like he's fucking smashed it again on this. Donald Pleasance. I think he's like the perfect person for that role, just as he was with playing Loomis. And that end scene where what's her name now? So Dan Forth.
I was just getting it up. Yeah.
So there's the woman who's sort of
Catherine Danforth.
There's the woman who's possessed and she's looking into this like sort of final mirror that's in this room, and the creature or whatever it is, the devil
has its hand through.
Has its hand coming through, and you're like, what the fuck? And then she's sort of like reaching for it as well, but she's possessed at the same time and she's burnt to death. And as she's reaching through, Danforth comes running in, tackles her, but they end up going straight through the portal.
All of them end up going through.
Yeah.
And then Donald Pleasance, go on, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, he throws the axe and smashes it. Like, why the fuck would you throw it so late? you had an opportunity. Yeah. You could have smashed it before that. But I think it's because the portal just shuts, done it like behind them.
Yeah.
But the visual bit on this that I fucking love is when they go through it and you get this sort of both sides of like the mirror, and she's reaching back towards it. Like from like whatever almost, it is, it's like the fucking abyss or whatever it is behind her, and she's reaching back to the light. Oh my god!
And it's almost this like liquidy effect on the inside of the mirror, the other dimension, cool, and then the normal mirror that we know. Do you want to know how they did those mirror scenes?
Go on.
It's mercury. Liquid mercury is all that bubbling and stuff. I don't know if it is with Catherine Danforth in it, but the liquid on its own is mercury, which I thought was really fucking
wow.
Like, what a cool way to make something look, weird and not like, oh, we just CGI'd it because it's easy or it's a backdrop.
Yeah.
We filmed mercury. I will say one thing that bugged me in this film was Walter, the character. Walter, he's got like so many one-liners and jokes in this where you're like, dude, this isn't the time to be joking. And I'm a guy that loves to joke around, but yeah, that was the one thing where I was like, fucking shut up, dude.
There's always that person in like a film, in the like,
there is.
The 80s.
This is such a good. Once it picks up in a classic John Carpenter way.
Yeah, 100%.
And like in a really fun way as well.
Yeah, I mean, even if like you're only familiar with a couple of his movies, watching this, you fucking know who directed it 100%.
Yeah,
as soon as you see it, you'd know it's a John Carpenter movie. So what's your ratings on it then? What would you say?
So before we do, I'll give you two more fun facts.
Oh,
this was shot in 30 days, which I think is amazing. I mean, it all takes place in one area, so
yeah,
achievable to do. And it's not like John Carpenter doesn't know how to work under a time constraint, because Halloween was shot in a very short amount of days. The premise of the film came from Deborah Hill, who he's collaborated with on Halloween. If you ever watch that, you might know, a bit of an indie movie. And basically Deborah Hill had a dream of a dark figure entering a church and made her feel super uncomfortable. And that's where the whole premise of the film comes from.
Fucking teamwork makes the dream work.
Certainly does. So my rating is 2.5.
Right.
I've gone slap bang in the middle, and I think that's because I think I overhyped it in my own mind from me and you talking about it.
Yeah.
And me thinking, there's a John Carpenter movie I've not seen that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So maybe my expectations going in were a little too high.
Yeah.
But once it did pick up pace, I was like, oh, okay, I'm into this.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
That's fair. 3.5 for me. Again, the originality of it. The whole thing that it was playing on the sort of devil, demonic possession sort of thing, but it's unlike anything you've ever seen in that sort of way. The creativity of the movie, Donald Pleasance as well in it, just fucking sells it for me. So yeah, it's got a 3.5 for me.
Nice. Moving on to Halloween H2O 20 years later. I hate the fact that I've just called it H2O because there's no mermaids in this film.
H2O.
Halloween
Need Adam
H20
Sandler.
is what I'm
That's what I call high quality H2O.
trying to keep calling it. Released in 1998. Essentially, now what's happened is this film acknowledges 1 and 2 and not the others. So,
Yeah, this is where it gets a bit weird.
yeah, here's where we get like a fucking multiverse of Halloween.
Michael Myers variants.
Well, yeah, we do. Look at those fucking masks. The premise of the movie is Laurie Strode, now dean of a Northern California private school with a new name, must battle the shape one last time as the life of her own son hangs in the balance. We've got Jamie Lee Curtis in this, obviously reprising her role as Laurie Strode. Josh Hartnett plays Laurie Strode's son, which I thought was really fun. And Steve Arkin is Laurie Strode's love interest.
And also, I don't know if you boys noticed it, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
With one of the coolest kills
100%.
in the movie.
Ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we should probably start there. The opening of the film is the nurse, right?
Yeah, it's the nurse.
Nurse's house has been robbed.
It's the nurse from the beginning of the original Halloween who's in
Who
the car
went
with Donald
to-
Pleasance. Yeah.
And we should say Donald Pleasance isn't in this movie, and this is the first Halloween film without him. I think it's dedicated to him.
But
But
it's
to
the
be
first with Jamie Lee back in it as well. So if
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think that even if they had Donald Pleasance, because he'd be on board, I don't really know how you'd fit him into this anyway. You know, not a scared priest, but priest. Look at me, I'm back on fucking Prince of Darkness there. A doctor chasing around knowing Michael's case doesn't really fit in this storyline.
No.
I think if they did do it, it would have just been overplaying it again. There's only so many times. He's going to get sick of chasing Michael around after a bit, and he's just running around to all these different spots.
Well, isn't it in like
Kind of going on
5 or
holiday.
6? He has the confrontation. He's just like, here's the person you want to kill, Michael. And then he's like, come on, kill me, do something. He's over it by the end.
Yeah, Mike's just over it.
It's just like, no.
Yeah. No.
A subplot would be that Michael has a habit of pinching the same nurse's car. That's it's not about the killing. It's just pinching the same person's car. It's just, it's just a long overdue prank.
So yeah, we open with the nurse from number 1 being her house has been robbed, right? And that's where we get introduced to Justin Long and a friend. I'm not really sure who plays him. It's basically
Justin Gordon-Levitt.
Did I say Justin Long?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay, mate.
This podcast is cursed by Justin Long.
It's that time. I'm done.
Yeah, we're on the second to last film. It's happening. Right, so Pearson's out. Oh, just down to 2 of us.
Yeah, we're back.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
There we go.
Yeah, so the nurse goes to Joseph Gordon-Levitt. My house has been robbed. I'm staying with you until the police come. Joseph Gordon-Levitt thinks he's too cool for that. Goes into the house, steals some beers, trashes the kitchen, and basically says, "There's no one there. Don't worry." So she goes.
They messed up your kitchen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does say that, doesn't he? They made a real mess of your kitchen. And she discovers papers on Laurie Strode have been stolen. Dun dun dun. That's how Michael's back.
And then Mikey sets up his way to find her after all those years. 20 years later. What's he been doing for 20 years, man?
Yeah, because he's missing at the end of number 2, isn't he?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
There's the fire, and that's that.
Also, as well, can we discuss why is it called H2O? I know
20
obviously
years
20 years later,
Halloween
but
20
why
years later.
but why did they decide to abbreviate it to H2O?
I don't know. I really don't know. I wish they didn't, because it really bugs me that there's no mermaids in this.
It's just Michael and those
Fucking
mermaids.
H2O.
So yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's killing this fucking.
Oh yeah, that's the whole.
Ice skating boots straight through the fucking face.
Yeah,
Wow.
brutal.
Solid start. Solid start.
Do you know what?
That's a
There's
good
some
start.
really cool kills in this movie.
There is.
Yeah, there is.
There is. Oh,
We
the
should
dumb,
say-
the dumb waiter scene.
And then what her body is,
Yeah.
what happens with the body after it, which before we do go in detail on that, I will say this whole private school has gone on a trip to Yosemite, I think, or some camping trip
Yosemite.
somewhere. And Josh Hartnett is begging his mum, Laurie, let me go, come on. In the end, he gets permission but doesn't go because he wants to stay in this private school and have sex with his girlfriend like any teenager wants to. So there's like 4 of them having some romantic evenings together. And Laurie Strode's under the impression she can have her own romantic evening and, let loose, chill out. So yeah,
Pretty much.
let's jump to that fucking kill with the dumbwaiter. And
Wow.
then she's hung up like Casey Becker with a light bulb in her stomach.
Yeah.
Casey
Like a
Becker
light
is making
bulb.
some fucking appearances today, isn't she?
Oh, dude, you see when she traps a leg though, and he's just fucking going at it.
Yeah.
He goes to
Yeah,
turn,
she's
doesn't
trying to
he?
get away.
she
Yeah, he
gets
just goes to
stabbed
turn
in the
on her.
back,
Yeah.
just repetitively.
Fuck me, she went out the worst. I think.
Stab her for Christy.
I think Joseph's character, he went out. He must have gone out pretty quick with that, but she fucking got tortured before she died.
Yeah. We should also mention LL Cool J's in this playing the security guard.
He's such a shit security guard.
He's a terrible security guard, but I want to read this novel that he's writing. God
Yeah.
damn. He basically operating the front gate, does a terrible job because Michael gets in real fucking easy by
He's
leaving
so
a car
lazy.
outside.
Like the whole way that he gets into that school is so fucking lazy. It's just like do 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 do.
But I mean, it establishes he's not good at his job beforehand because he's on the phone to his wife and then
innit, yeah.
just lets Josh. I'm gonna keep calling him Josh until I remember his name. Just lets Josh walk into town on Halloween, the most scary night for Laurie Strode.
Yeah, so you've I mean you get the bit where so she bumps into him, doesn't she, in town, and she has a go at him for actually being out there, and he's like,
Yeah,
why,
she does.
Yeah.
why have you not got over this by now? Which is again, so that's sort of similar to the new Halloween where she's got this like PTSD from everything
Yeah.
that's gone on, but obviously in this she's sort of shit out and she's become a teacher and she's part of the school and all that. But she's still got this sort of nightmare every time it comes back to Halloween of seeing Michael again.
I think the most recent Halloween, obviously excluding Halloween Kills, I think they did a better job of kind of like showcasing like trauma after an event like that.
100%.
Because the way that they went about this was kind of like she's got her stuff together, but she's an underlying alcoholic. That's all that there is to it. There's no kind of like PTSD vibe to it. So I feel like the newest edition did a much better job.
I mean, are you comparing Halloween H2O and the new 2018 Halloween?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So, I mean, in this, it does show some displays of PTSD because you've got like scenes where she thinks Michael's
like,
walking towards her.
Yeah.
She looks away, looks back, and it isn't Michael.
Yeah.
Also, did anyone get we've just been talking about Wes Cravens' New Nightmare. This came out 4 years after. Anyone else get a bit of a Scream feel?
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
because Kevin Williamson was signed on as an executive producer. You'll know him from
Shit.
helping
Yeah,
to
yeah.
produce and write Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. He actually wrote an early draft for this.
Wow.
And then
Really?
I don't know what happened to it, but they didn't use that one and went with what we have today.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, that'll probably tie in with one of your fun facts, which I think you'll have on there.
Do you know what? I don't have any fun facts written for this. But I
So,
do know
Yeah.
I do know one off the top of my head, but go on, you give me yours.
Well, it's the the school where this is set in is also the setting of Roman's house in Scream 3. So you can see different bits in, I think obviously the front of the school, like the entrance, and also you can match up one of the hallways as well in the scene. So there's the bit in this film where Mikey drops down from the roof. Again, he's got a fucking strong arm. He just fucking drops down with one arm from the roof. Like, how?
Someone's been doing pull-ups.
What has he been doing? Like, he's had to do a fucking star against like the walls up there to stay there. Somehow dropped himself down with one arm behind someone. Like, what the fuck?
It's true.
Yeah. So so Mike's good. Mike's good at gymnastics as well. We found out in this film.
That's what he's been doing for 20 years.
Yeah, he's just been mastering pull-ups with one arm.
Yeah. Fucking doing parkour and all that shit. Yeah, so you can match up on that hallway scene from one of the chase scenes from Scream 3 and use fucking perfect lineup of it. So it's cool to see that connection between them both as well. And that's cool, the fact that Kevin Williamson was actually part of it as well.
Also,
another interesting. Oh, go on.
This is a real short one, don't worry. Steve Miner is directing it, who did the first 2 Friday the 13th sequels. And I suppose this is viewed as Halloween 3 that they never got.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Right.
Go on, then. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, did everyone pick up on Jamie Lee Curtis's mum having a conversation? That's cool.
Shit, yeah.
So that is the last time they're on screen together as well.
That's insane.
Which, you know, she also references the original Halloween. We're all entitled to one good scare this year, and she gives a bit of parental advice, and that's the meta.
Love it.
As meta as this gets.
Is there a meta thing as well where it plays some of the music from Psycho as she's walking to a car?
Yeah, it plays Bernard Herrmann's score.
Yeah,
as she's walking away. Yeah,
that's
Janet Leigh appears in it. It's nice to see her. In the Halloween franchise.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So highlights from this film for myself, like again, I think some of the kill scenes is the bit in the school hall where Mike is just fucking flipping all the tables trying to find her. And also there's just that iconic scene where they're getting chased and they run through that door. She shuts the door and he's like in a face
to
just
face,
right there.
yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. The fact
Get
that
the
face
head
to face.
twist.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the mask?
Thank you. I was gonna ask.
Yeah, I was getting slowly around to it. Yeah.
What is that?
Suggy. It's called Suggy.
Well, CGI. CGI on one of the scenes, which is the one where it's around near the dumbwaiter scene in it, where they're in that, and because I can't remember the reason why, would have to fucking Google it, but they ended up CGI his mask in there for it, and it's like
it's so noticeable that you've seen the mask swap and change.
Isn't there 2 versions of that doorway scene where one you can actually see his eyes proper, and then there's the other one where they've like darkened it or something like that?
I do not know. It wouldn't surprise me though. But I mean, the mask in general isn't amazing.
No, absolutely not.
We are coming off the back of Halloween 5 and 6, which had terrible masks.
Oh god, yeah.
Like fucking goofy looking masks. But
so apparently it was used to cover up a mask that was used in a previous shot, and they couldn't reshoot it at the time, so they used CGI to cover it up.
Shit, yeah, I've just looked at I got some screenshots up. I'm sure Matty will be able to find this image and chuck it up, but
it's the alien-eyed Michael Myers. So
oh yeah, it is. Oh god.
No, so that's the Myers we got, and this is the one of the other Myers masks.
The amount of eyes we've got in there. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah, so that's what they covered up.
Rightly so.
Have you seen that picture of like a larger gentleman, like with a Michael Myers mask on, and it looks like really bloated and weird? That's what that looks like. Like where he looks like Michael Chiklis, but wearing a Halloween mask.
Yeah. Fuck. Yes, that's that kind of like. I mean,
That's the downside to this film.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
'Cause I
probably
think
not.
this is
I appreciate all the masks, but it's probably not the worst. It's probably not the worst mask in the franchise. Put it that way. But
Oh no.
go back 2 films and you've got the worst one.
but yeah, when you see that CGI, though, it's like, oh fuck, man. It kind of puts you off. But I guess you don't really see that on the first
No.
watch through.
No.
It's
only
not
when you
that
really
bad.
notice it.
No.
No.
Could we take? I think as well another thing to mention about this film. I think because it's definitely the influence of Scream on this. Like I think like the comedy in it is quite nicely touching. It's not like an overbearing amount.
Doesn't feel like too
No.
much.
Like just even the whole thing of like where they invited the principal to join him at the party, and he's like, "No thanks, get my nipples pierced" or something.
Oh,
like
yeah.
really sarcastic.
I was watching Dead Meat catching up on this, and like if we're getting meta, he points out that scene where the teenagers are like, I don't know what they're doing, they're just chilling, right? And invite the principal to come in. They're watching Scream,
That's it.
and Scream in that watches the original Halloween.
Oh my god!
Paradox, motherfucker.
You've got this
What?
weird, like, it doesn't fucking make sense. It just fucks itself up. But yeah.
Wow. I never fucking I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I didn't even make that connection, but that is my
Me either. So shout out Dead Meat. If you don't know what that is, give that a fucking search on YouTube and you're in for a good time.
So so going back as well, the Michael for this film. So Chris Durand plays Michael Myers in this film, and I don't know about you guys, but I thought he did a fucking pretty good job of Michael, like the way he portrays him, the walk, the whole thing about it.
Yeah.
I think maybe compared to some of the other Michael Myers previous, he did a really great job. Probably like sort of the closest you could get to Nick Castle's sort of vibe. Do you know what I mean? Apart from obviously the new movie, because James Jude just does a smashing job.
Yeah,
with
he's
it.
fucking
He just nails
smashing it.
But I feel like Chris Durand did quite a good job on this.
I suppose it's hard, isn't it? Because a film with this many sequels, and some of them are really bad,
Yeah,
and some of them are absolutely amazing, like Halloween 3. You've got this weird thing where multiple people are playing the same character because
Yeah.
it's a masked character.
yeah.
But yeah, it feels natural and like the original Stalker from the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
At no point do you feel like, oh, there's a bit of a goofy Michael other than the CGI mask.
So what did you guys think of the ending then?
I like it. I really like it.
I think it's a good twist towards the end.
Because so for those who don't care about spoilers and aren't going to watch it if by now, basically Michael gets put in a body bag. Jamie Lee Curtis steals the ambulance that the body bag's in. Michael crawls out of this body bag halfway down the road. They crash. Michael's fucking pinned up against the log in the ambulance.
Yeah.
Reaches out to Laurie for one last caring moment with his sister. And she fucking chops his head off.
And you're like, thank fucking hell that's over with.
They killed the
He's
character.
done with.
Yeah. And that was the
Finished.
end of Halloween.
Finito. And then you
Until
get
the next film.
But I like that twist because you don't want the character to end, do you?
No. I know what you mean.
Like,
But
let's put the feelers out there. If Michael dies at Halloween Kills,
it will be Halloween Ends, won't it? It'll be
Halloween Ends. Thank you. Fucking alcohol, man. How would you feel about that? I mean, this is going to be a completely different episode for another day, but
I don't know. I really don't know.
So the difference here
I feel like
is-
they shouldn't keep carrying it on. I feel like they should just maybe
because
when
that's
they
how you
do-
get Halloween 5 and 6, right?
Yeah. I think.
I think
There's
they need
at
to
a
do a
point where they should
definitive.
stop. But in about 10 years' time after that comes out, they're going to do another remake. So
But it doesn't take away from the ones that you love
no, it doesn't.
either. I suppose the same could be said for Freddy, can't it? Freddy dies.
Mm.
There is a definitive end there.
So in regards to this, like ending to the film and the way it leads into resurrection, I do like the sort of way they explain it off, where inside the actual school, when Mikey's like getting tended to by the paramedics, he actually gets hold of one of the paramedics, crushes his vocal cords so he can't speak, puts him in the body bag, and Mikey
In
gets
the suit and everything.
in the suit, dresses him up and everything. Like, what the fuck? And then Mike just walks off
As
in
a
the background
paramedic.
as a paramedic, and they show that in Resurrection, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they show it
flashback.
later on.
Yeah, Mikey walking off in the paramedic's outfit.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
cool.
a great way of keeping the character alive. And if you are going to do a sequel, do it that way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So
The rest of that film, however,
That's a different
let's
Horror
not talk
Fest.
about.
yeah, it's not going to Resurrection.
That's going to be
fully.
like when
Wow.
HorrorFest is like, we've done all these films before.
Yeah,
Let's talk about
Oh,
Resurrection.
here we
we've
go.
got to be clutching at straws to put Resurrection on there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With that, The Exorcist 2. Whatever it's called.
Right, guys, what you got? What you rating it?
Ooh.
Whose
Go on,
film
Lon.
was this, by the way? Who
This was Ryan's,
Ryan's?
which good choice.
Well done, Ryan. Well done.
Well done, mate.
So
Go
I'm
on,
going to
Lon.
go out straight away. I'm going to give this a 3. So
Okay.
I think one of the notes I made on this is like it kind of goes back to basics. It's kind of like a tasteful addition to it after like the mess that they made with like the complicated storylines in like the later ones like 4 or 5. I think this is like a nice reintroduction to basics on it, and it doesn't go over the top and it doesn't go wild as such, but it's a nice addition to the franchise.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm not that far off from you. A 3.5 for me, because I used to really love it, and then I hated it, and now I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. I'll stick it on every now and then. Definitely not my favorite, but like you say, there are worse ones in the franchise. So 3.5. Matty?
For me, I'm giving this a 3. As you said, Lon, it's going back to basics with it, not going over the top. Mikey's going following his sister.
I love that you keep calling him
Yeah.
Mikey.
Mikey.
Mikey. Feel like Busta Rhymes. Yeah, the way that like the sort of film is led and the way it's written, I think is pretty well written. How Mikey finds where Laurie is and all that, and yeah, I just think all in all, in regards to the Halloween franchise as well, this sits at a perfect 3 for me.
It makes
Oh,
sense
really?
of like the time of the release and stuff. It's a 90s Halloween movie, isn't it?
Yeah, we should add though to this when Jamie Lee was asked about this film, I think it was in an interview. She claimed that she only did this film for the money.
Oh, really?
So I don't think there was much emotional attachment to this film.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that why they
comparison to
killed her
this.
off in Resurrection?
Probably at the beginning of it, yeah. So she only came back because of the money she was offered to reprise the role as Laurie Strode, which is pretty sad, but I guess it's just the way she felt about it at the time. Because obviously I bet she was watching all these other spin-offs of the Halloween franchise thinking, what the fuck why have they carried it on this much? Yeah. And
Well,
not
that was
shitting on the franchise, because there is some fucking great films there, but obviously
Yeah, look at Halloween 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible.
Well, that was the thing, wasn't it, about this, where it was going to be a home release, like straight to DVD release, but because they got Jamie Lee Curtis on it, that's
Yeah.
what kind of convinced them to actually put it into cinemas.
Damn.
Right. Which makes sense.
My fun fact for it is John Carpenter was approached to come back and direct, but I think creative differences, I believe it was said he wanted a trilogy to do 3 of them, and money and stuff like that it never ended up happening. But luckily we've got our new trilogy
Look what
happening right
happened.
now.
Yeah.
And he seems very involved and happy with everything. So Yeah, let's get Ryan's review now, and then we'll jump to the next one.
Final voice note from me because I haven't seen the other films on the list just yet. Halloween H2O, I'm going to give 3.5 stars. I thought this is like, it's the best shit film. Like, I love a shit film, and this is a good shit film. It's definitely my favourite sequel in the Halloween franchise. Hoping maybe Halloween Kills might take that slot this year, but we'll see. It opens up with that really fucking brutal Joseph Gordon-Levitt death scene where he's like really young, obviously, because it's, you know, the 90s. And he takes like an ice hockey boot to the face. I thought that was fucking brutal. That moment where Laurie sees Michael for the first time through that locked gate, like that front door moment. I think they like close a gate and close the door right as he comes through, and they have that face-to-face moment on the other side of the window. That was really fucking cool. Yeah, and there's a cool little Easter egg. I'm sure you guys have mentioned it, but they're watching Scream 2 in the film. That was really cool as well. You know, we're all big fans of Scream. So Halloween H2O, 3.5 stars. And I don't have any comments on the next few films because there's a few this week that I didn't get time to see. So I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of this podcast, and I hope you guys are having fun.
Right. That was Ryan's review. Let's get on to our 7th and final film, Fright Night. So, we're going for the original Fright Night here, released in 1985. A teenager discovers that the newcomer in his neighborhood is a vampire, so he turns to an actor in a television horror show for help dealing with the undead. Right.
That's such a teenage. So just get it straight out of there. It's such a teenager thing to be like, I need help with this potential vampire that is next bit. I'll ask the guy that's on the horror show.
Yeah.
So while we're starting on that, doesn't that remind you of Lost Boys, where they go to the Frog Brothers, who just know about vampires from reading the comics? What?
Oh, he's not seen Lost Boys.
I've never seen Lost Boys.
Oh, there's no spoiler there.
No,
there's no spoiler there. It's like, so basically in the Lost Boys, they go, the Frog Brothers, basically read all these comics about vampires, and that's how they know how to kill vampires and all that sort of stuff.
Mean,
so this is like that sort of thing.
Lost Boys is in this HorrorFest this year, so
yeah,
we will be getting to it. Don't worry.
Oh yeah. So my main observation on this one is, I think this is part of like the golden trio of that time, and I've never said the golden trio. I've gone completely blank on what the third of the film is. I know it's Lost Boys, and I know it's fucking Fright Night, and there's like a third one. Might be able to pick me up on this.
From the 80s.
Like vampire films.
From vampire films in the 80s, there was like 3.
Fuck. Top of my head. Wow.
I mean, you've kind of got like,
you know about Salem's Lot? Salem's Lot might have been that might be a little vampire appearance in there. That might be the 70s though. I'm no good with years sometimes.
Please hold.
Yeah, Salem's Lot was 1979.
Near Dark.
Never heard of it.
So that was apparently the golden 3 of that time. So
Near Dark. You've got me intrigued now, man. Get ready for the next segment of 20 minutes of Googling.
A trailer watch. 30 hours later.
Oh, okay. Mate, the cover on that looks sick.
That guy on the cover of that reminds me of the guy who gets chewed up on American Wolf in London. He looks very similar to that.
Well, that was around similar time, wasn't it? Because like werewolves were similar. Anyway, jumping back to Fright Night. This is said to be a homage to Hammer horror, as around the time it was very much slashers being the churned out horror popular thing. You've got Tom Holland directing this, not the Spider-Man from the Marvel Universe, but Tom Holland from Child's Play.
So why you've just said that as well, Pearson? So you're on about the Hammer horror sort of vibes. The main character in this is called Peter Vincent.
Peter Vincent, yeah.
Which is a homage to Peter Cushing and Vincent Price, who were two.
Oh, fucking hell. How have I never put that together?
Yeah, two big figures in the horror industry.
Yeah.
So Peter Vincent is our character who hosts the late night horror show that our protagonist watches all the time.
Yeah.
What did we all think of this?
It's
Like-
been a while since I've
Like,
watched
was
it.
this
so
the
I
first
didn't-
time you
yeah.
watched it? Is this?
Yeah. So this was the first time I've watched it where like I've said to you before we started recording this, I'm familiar with the remake with David Tennant and Colin Farrell and not this
Great
one.
remake.
It is a good
So,
remake.
so to go back to, we're getting a lot of remakes mentioned this time round. But I think we're
That's the
mentioning
way it
good
is, isn't it?
remakes.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to this to see where it kind of originally stemmed from, it is pretty much like for like.
Yeah, there's no change to the story or anything like that, other than like I think in the remake, Peter Vincent is doing very well for himself, living in a penthouse kind of thing.
Yeah. But the fucking makeup in this is insane.
This kind of film, right, was one I saw on In Search of Darkness, because we've been obsessed with that.
Yeah.
And like my list has just grown and grown after watching them, because I love 80s horror movies, and it seems even more so. But like this is one where it's an iconic cover that you see all the time,
Yeah.
and then like amazing 80s special effects and makeup, like you've just said, Lon. And honestly, I thought I'd hate this because, you know, if you've watched last year's HorrorFest, I was slating Bram Stoker's Dracula. But like, you know, for this to homage to your classic Hammer horror,
Horrors, yeah.
it feels like horror all comes from like a gothic time period anyway, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
romance is part of that.
Yeah.
But this was what I was kind of wanting from Bram Stoker's, because the romance is completely gone from this, other than the vampire next door seducing his victims.
Yeah.
So it's confirmed to us that he is a vampire, as we see a lady get out of a cab, go next door. Our character becomes pretty much a fucking peeping Tom, watching them strip down and a bit of foreplay, until later on in the film you see a photo of her on the TV, and it's like missing sex worker, I think, or prostitute.
Does that not remind you? It's just literally popped to me as you were talking about that. There's a film called Disturbia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, like constantly watching next door kind of thing.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. That's a good.
Is that Shia LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf? Yeah.
No, that is a great film. That I don't know why we haven't put that one on here, but
Yeah, we should have.
There is another one because I know The Simpsons reference it, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the film is called. But I don't. You might remember the Simpsons episode where Bart breaks his leg and he has like a telescope or something like that, and he's like sat and he thinks like the next door neighbor or something like that is like a murderer or something.
See, this plays on, so like this whole sort of like a premise where it's the neighbor next door could be a killer, but he's actually a vampire this time. So this plays on, I guess, like people, like kids at the time, and their imagination going wild, like reading all these comic books. I know we wasn't alive during this era, unfortunately. But you can kind of get it from like kids reading all these comic books and vampires, seeing all this vampire stuff on TV. You like to think of that sort of like imagination when you've got that neighbor next door who's a bit of a dickhead, and you think, oh, dude,
You never see them. They only come out at night, you know.
Yeah.
It's very easy to like put two and two together, isn't it? And get seven.
So yeah, I love it for that reason, and going back to what you said as well, Lon, the makeup on this film is great. Like the vampires.
They look terrifying.
Yeah, it is scary. Considering it's like kind of like a horror comedy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I see what you mean, but it's not in the way where like it is.
Yeah,
right.
You know, it I think of as like horror first, very closely followed by comedy, whereas this, it's just like in little places.
Yeah.
I don't think the comedy's like too obvious where it takes you out of it. But then at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily scary. But
No,
that,
I think
that might just be me.
This has this has a very similar feel to it, without comparing the two like too much, because they're completely different. Like Lost Boys, in the way
Yeah.
it is like horror, but you've got that bit of comedy. I'm not spoiling anything. Don't worry.
So you're
Jason.
guessing that I'm gonna love Lost Boys?
I know you'll love Lost Boys, mate. I know.
We'll find out. Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
But it's got that horror element to it, and that suspense. But it's also got that little bit of comedy in there as well, but not
Yeah.
too much.
Like I love that. So it's Charlie is the name of our main protagonist. I've just realized. It's sort of like the boy who cried wolf in that, like, he's certain he's a vampire, but no one's listening to him because it's so outlandish and ridiculous. I think he even goes to the police at one point and says, like, my neighbor's a vampire. And they're like, fuck off, kid. He's trying to tell his mom and everything. It ain't happening. So he goes and gets Peter Vincent's help, who initially only does it for the money. Once he's investigating, and like the other thing I like is this vampire next door. He's very charming and like hosting them, very nicely. And then Peter Vincent discovers he doesn't cast a reflection in his mirror, and he fucking bolts out of there. He's like, fuck this. So it's kind of fun. It is that comedy of seeing him go and come back. So otherwise you're fucked.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Like, I think it's such an interesting aspect because it's definitely played in the sense of like he actually would do what a kid would do in that scenario. Like I said before, like the thing is like your parents aren't gonna believe you, and you look up to the people that you watch on TV, so therefore let's go and ask them for help.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
TV fix things.
Yeah, it's not just entertainment. This is life.
But
now,
also another thing with this film, the poster is iconic. Like,
yeah,
that's probably the poster's more popular in the film.
Yeah, it probably
one
is.
of those things, yeah.
I love the poster for this film. And like going back to the special effects, like later on when it is like, I know that I'm a vampire. You end up in the basement of this house, which turns out to be, nods to earlier horrors and, fucking Hammer horrors. Stuff like Nosferatu, where he's got his fucking coffin in the basement, sleeping during the day. And like the special effects, like there's a werewolf. I think who turns into a werewolf?
Can't remember.
Someone basically. I'm gonna fucking butcher this because it's been a while since I've watched it, but I think it's like a reverse werewolf special effect because the big thing around the 80s was stuff like the Howling, like the transition from human to werewolf. That was the big thing in special effects, and this was the other way: werewolf turning into a human. Yeah, it's just fucking amazing. That's all I'm gonna say. It's fucking amazing. Go watch it. I 100%. Think I watched this very late. It's not a film I was brought up watching. I just watched it because for the love of horror within the past year, recommended it to me. And after last year's HorrorFest, I had to watch more vampire movies.
Yeah, it was our mission last year when you were like, don't really do vampire films. We were like, have you seen Lost Boys? It was like, no. Fright Night? No. Well.
Yeah, Fright Night is. And you know what? It's one of my favorites now. I'll say that. It's in my top 10 horror films.
Cool.
Oh,
shit.
damn.
Wow.
Easy. And the remake's great as well.
So go on then, let's get to ratings. What's your rating on it then, Pearson?
Mine's a 4.5.
Wow.
Ooh. Yeah. I feel like it's, how we love Halloween 3 even more so because it's underrated and not as appreciated as it probably should be.
Yeah.
I feel like I might be looking at it like this. Like, I don't think Fright Night gets mentioned enough. It was fun to watch. And it was one of them, I enjoyed watching the original, and then I enjoyed watching the remake just as much as one another.
Yeah.
There was none that were, like, I preferred the original. But, yeah. I'll happily watch it again. Became like a comfort thing to watch. Lun?
That's cool. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think it is a solid film. It lives up to expectations of, like, going from the process of seeing the remake to then going and seeing the original from that. I think it held up on that. And it shows where like concepts came from, which from my aspect was quite interesting. That like the practical effects in it is insane.
Well, I think that's quite rare, isn't it? To watch a remake first and then still like the original.
This is the whichever way you look at it, potentially unfortunate thing that we've come where we're now on the second prototype of something that's already been made.
Yeah.
We didn't see the original concept of it when that first came out. Like you think like Fright Night, The Exorcist, and stuff like that. The reactions to them fucking films when they came out must have been insane.
100%. But now we watch The Exorcist and we're like, that's cool. Their makeup's sick, you know.
But we're just desensitized to it.
Yeah,
all.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because I can watch someone be beheaded on the internet. Not that I do.
Yeah.
But there's that kind of brutality in real life horror.
Yeah.
You know.
Life is a horror.
Yeah. Life's horrible every day. Anyway, Lun, what's your rating?
Oh,
it was a 3.5.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Marty?
So I'm joining Lun on that one, so I'm a 3.5 as well. Love the concept of it again, like a sort of a fresh new take on vampires. Healthy little bit of comedy in there. And you know what? When I'm thinking of it now, like when you said it was a fun watch, which it is a fun watch. You're not thinking too hard about it when you're watching it. You can just sort of sit back, just chill out, watch it, enjoy it, because it's got like Goonies vibe to it. It's like Goonies, but with vampires in it, but without it being too comedy. Do you know what I mean? It's got that to it, and it's just really enjoyable to watch. And you know, like if I do ever have kids in the future, this will be one of those horror films that you do.
You could make them watch early, yeah, for sure.
It's the film you can disturb them with at a young age.
It's a nice introduction into vampires, and I guess Lost Boys will be like that as well. So, 3.5.
And here's what Ryan thinks of Fright Night. Shoo.
Confession time for me. I have not had time to watch the original Fright Night, but I have seen the remake with Colin Farrell, which I think was like 10 years old. So I saw it when it was at the cinema, and I remember really enjoying it. It was quite, it was a bit like just goofy fun. It wasn't like a serious, terrifying horror, but it was like a fun horror. And I think by the look of the original Fright Night, I'm guessing that's the kind of style it was anyway. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys say about Fright Night, and then I am going to check out myself when I get a chance. And if I was to rate the remake of Fright Night, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5, as it was quite fun, but it wasn't like anything groundbreaking. So yeah, I'll do my review based on the remake, but I will check out the original as soon as I can.
And then that concludes HorrorFest Part 2.
Nice,
Fucking
boys.
A. Let's go. So, jumping to episode 3, I will let you know what films we have coming up shortly, if we could ever organize a date.
So whilst you're doing that then, if you watch this on YouTube, let us know what you think of the films that we discussed today, whether you agree with us, whether you completely disagree with us, whether we tasteless dickheads and we don't know what we're talking about.
Slander on
We
some
welcome the
films.
opinions, because at the end of the day, like, and I know sometimes like some of us talk shit on some of the films, but it's interpretation. At the end of the day, we're all into different things, and we see things in different ways. So
Well, I think that's what's fun about doing this, especially when you think of last year when I slated Bram Stoker, and I'm just looking at it in completely the wrong way. I still don't like the film, but then what happened? I messaged you, Matty, and I watched Interview with a Vampire and fucking loved it.
Yeah, I was fucking shocked when he messaged me saying he's watching that. I was like, what? So you hate Bram Stoker's Dracula, and you're watching an even more romanticized version of, like,
and absolutely loved it. I was like, the concept's so amazing.
Again, it's interpretation, but again,
podcast,
if you disagree with anything we said, put it in the comments and just let us know what you think, because we'll be interested to hear.
Okay, so the next 7 films are The Exorcist, Night of the Demons, Devil, I Spit on Your Grave, The Perfection, Suspiria, and Mandy.
That's a good lineup as well.
I think so too. So if you want to hear all about that, hit episode 3. And if you haven't listened to our first 7 of HorrorFest, that was When a Stranger Calls, Scare Me, Evil Dead 2, Ready or Not, the remake of Wrong Turn 2021, Life and the Crow. That's episode 1. Go take a listen. I think that's everything from us, isn't it?
Yep.
If people have made it this far, thank you very much for listening, watching, whatever way you're doing it. If you enjoyed it, share it, spread the word, all that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like HorrorFest has become a bit of a baby of ours that we're trying to like put all our effort in right now. I'm just saying I'm living for it, so fucking love it. Thanks, boys.
Yes.
It's been fun.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.